May the 4th be with you.
No. We kind of missed it.
Oh, shit. Well, The Revenge of the 5th.
We missed that one, too.
Revenge of the 6th?
Yep.
We missed that, too. Shit. Let the 8th flow through you? Does that work?
Good. Hello, and welcome to Jedi Dropouts, where we like to keep it more geekly than weekly. I'm here with a man who has the wisdom of Yoda, the poise of Mace Windu, and the head tentacle thingies of Kit Fisto, Ryan Taylor.
And here with me, as always, my friend and co-host, always ready for a force choke, you know, if that happens to be your kink, so long as you bend over and show him your dark side first, Mr. James Moss.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. I don't know. You said poise, and then I followed it with that. I don't know. I might have proved you wrong there. If you didn't guess already, we're finally fucking doing Star Wars.
Yeah.
We've only been trying to do this for a year.
Yeah, I actually had to, like, when I opened up my little notepad where I had movies ranked, I realized that I had it done before The Last Jedi came out, so I had to add that in there.
Yeah. It's funny that we had a whole year to prepare, and we still managed to miss our expected date.
But, I mean, we had technical issues, internet issues, and we both weren't feeling the best.
No. I already... well, for starters, this is my second podcast recording of the day. Me and Mitchell just finished up Final Form, and I'm hoping to get both episodes out today, so it should be like a double feature, if you will. But before I left to go to St... What?
Double feature. Nothing, just singing
some Rocky Horror.
Rocky Horror, yeah.
Before me and Mitchell... Mitchell didn't go on a trip with me. Before I went to St. John's, like 2 weeks ago, me and Mitchell were supposed to record the night before, and an hour before our recording time, I got a head cold. And that lasted up until even last week when me and you tried to record. Stuck around for a while.
Yeah, I'm still kind of getting over the tail end of my head cold as well.
Fucking sucks.
A little congested, sore throat, but nothing I can't work with.
But, just last week was May the 4th, Star Wars Day. A week before that was Avengers Infinity War. Me and you both saw that. We're going to review that at the tail end of this episode. There will be some spoilers, but you've got all kinds of time. We're going to give you all kinds of warning before we get into that. And I mean, we're only like 2 weeks out from Solo, a Star Wars story.
And we're only about a week out from Deadpool 2.
Oh my god. Have you seen the new poster?
I did, from the studios that killed Wolverine.
Yeah. I've been doing really well with avoiding trailers, but I mean, I went to see 2 movies in St. John's, so I've seen all the trailers now. I'm very caught up on Deadpool 2 and Solo, and they look fucking great.
Did you see the music video with Celine Dion?
Yes, I did. For Ashes?
Oh my god.
Oh man. It's a fun time if you're a geek.
Yeah.
We're living in probably the golden age of geekdom.
Yeah.
So let's jump into our Star Wars episode. If you don't know Star Wars and you ended up on the 33rd episode of a podcast called Jedi Dropouts, someone gave you bad directions at some point.
Yep.
I don't know where you meant to be, but maybe stay a while. Who knows? You might enjoy it.
It's better to get bad directions and end up here than end up in, like, The Hills Have Eyes.
That is true. We are not mutated rednecks hell-bent on killing you and torturing you.
We do resort to cannibalism from time to time.
Time to time. And I've got this weird thing on my toe, so, that's kind of a mutation, but, like, it's pretty minor.
Yeah.
We put a call out, it feels like forever ago now, for the Star Wars mailbag.
Yeah.
We got a couple questions, but they're excellent questions. Do you want to hop?
If any of them are Star Trek related, I will find you.
I should have done that. Now I regret it. Well, let's hop right into it. Let's go into the mailbag. It's been too long since we got to record one of these, which means it's been too long since we did a mailbag.
Yep.
First off, my Final Form co-host, Mitchell Clark, wants to know, why do you think Chewbacca didn't get a medal at the end of A New Hope? Which...
That's a good one.
It is a good one. It's a grievance of many Star Wars fans. If you haven't seen the first Star Wars, I don't know who you are, but I guess I'll explain that at the end of the day, when the heroes save the day, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker both get their medals, and Chewbacca gets to stand next to them and not get one.
Racist.
My guess, my logical guess here, is that Peter Mayhew was way too tall for them to feasibly have Carrie Fisher put the medal around his neck.
So they could have had him kneel.
I guess, but I don't know. I'm sure it was probably just a height technical issue and fitting it into the frame properly.
Yeah.
But it's funnier to think of something else, I don't know. I have no idea.
Excuse me. But, how often throughout the Star Wars franchise do you have people be like, that big walking carpet, and, people have to be like, Wookiees are smarter than they appear. Watch what you're saying, or he'll rip your arms out of your sockets.
Yep.
They're an entire race. It's not like, Chewbacca is the only... It's not like he's Sasquatch, the only one ever pimping around all over the place. Kashyyyk was full of them.
Yeah.
But yet, so many people you run into throughout the universe think that, Wookiees are just these big, dumb animals.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe that negligence kind of played into why he didn't get a medal.
Yeah, you have an actual point there. There is a lot of sort of scoffing towards Chewbacca as a Wookiee by characters, so maybe whoever was involved in the medal ceremony, whoever made that decision, did have some bias there.
Maybe.
That is possible. Or maybe Han and Luke were so convincing as stormtroopers that somehow they actually thought Chewbacca was some sort of criminal that they couldn't actually award a medal to. I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? Star Wars politics, man.
Yep.
We got one more question here. My friend Will Sullivan wants to know, if you could interview any Star Wars character, who would it be?
If I could interview a Star Wars character?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the character, not the actor.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Huh.
Which, first...
While I brainstorm this one, you could go ahead and answer it.
For starters, like, there's a lot of characters that would seem fun, but then you realize there's a language barrier because they speak an alien language. So...
Yeah, but that's when you get C-3PO to translate.
Oh. C-3PO would be fun. Like, he's a bit of a stickler, but he's interesting. You could kind of troll him a little bit.
Yep.
I gotta say Lando. I want to know, like, I want to know where he's been. I feel like he has some stories to tell. Yeah, I'd probably go Lando. I feel like that'd make a good interview.
As long as I had someone to translate, I would probably say R2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good point. So that'd be sort of a package deal.
R2 has seen some shit.
Oh, yeah. He's been there for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Plus, like, through the way of translating, you kind of get two characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, R2 has been there since episode 1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've got everything that happened, like, through the first 3 episodes, plus anything that was canon in, like, the animation, plus, like, everything that happened between episode 3 and episode 4.
Yeah, exactly, which is a pretty big gap.
Yeah.
And then everything that happened between episodes 6 and 7.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, up until he shut himself down.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, like, there's a lot of gaps I'd like R2 to fill in.
He'd be the one to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good answer. I'm totally on board for that.
I mean, like, C-3PO's, like, saying to him sometimes, like, whoa, you watch your language.
Yeah.
Like, he seems really saucy, and I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah. You know, if you could get the translating right and it not take too long to translate over, he'd be a good guest for this podcast.
Oh my god.
Because this is one of the ones where he could really let loose with what he wants to say, not be held back by radio standards.
Exactly.
Speaking of, I just thought about this with Lando. I don't know if you happened to catch this anytime you've been to a movie recently, but when I went to the theater in St. John's, they had this little piece in the, like, before the previews with Donald Glover showing you around the Millennium Falcon set.
You know what? The first of 2 times I went to see Infinity War,
Yep.
they had that, but it was a sold-out theater, and technically the previews hadn't started yet because the lights were still on and the curtains hadn't, like, adjusted to their, like, 1/8 way down the
Oh, yeah.
screen, and so everyone was still talking.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't hear a damn word he was saying, and, like, people were still, like, getting up and going to the washroom in front of me and, like, going to get their popcorn, and so I couldn't see, like, a quarter of it, and I couldn't hear any of it.
Okay.
And I was rotted.
You saw the movie on...
Something I wanted to see.
That would have been on a Friday showing?
Yes.
Okay, see, I went Sunday, so I think I had a quieter crowd.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was a really cool little piece, and it was like, number one, I love Donald Glover and everything he does. Uh, And yes, I'm one of the many obsessed with his new music video. It's incredible. But I really enjoyed seeing him showing around, and he was putting on a bit of a Lando persona, which was cool. But also, just seeing the inside of their Millennium Falcon set, it almost made you feel like he was actually in the ship, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm excited for that movie, I gotta say.
I'm definitely gonna see that movie the first chance I get.
That's another one I really hope I can get in to see. Maybe I can find a time to get somewhere while Deadpool 2 and Solo are both playing. Maybe. One can dream.
Yeah.
That's it for the mailbag, but I do have one more question here that's been part of the episode layout here ever since we talked about doing this. We've got to answer the question, the biggest question in Star Wars history: who shot first? You gotta answer it, man.
Greedo.
Greedo?
Yeah.
What? Any reasoning or?
Because there's a part of me that wants Han Solo to have access to the Force and just not know it, and where he's kind of like in denial about the Force being a thing. But, I mean, there's no way Ben got to be as strong as Kylo is with only one parent passing on, use of the Force to him.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to believe that Han had access to the Force and he just was super in denial about it. And when Greedo shot first, his instinct kicked in and he kind of used the Force unknowingly to push the shot aside so it didn't kill him.
That is a much geekier answer than me. We should probably preface this one. I mean, I feel like most people are going to know what we're talking about, but in the event that they don't, in the original cut of the movie, the original Star Wars, there was the one shot in the scene. Han shot Greedo, right?
Yes.
And then when they did the recuts and added a bunch of stuff, there was two shots: Greedo shooting and missing, and Han shooting and killing Greedo. And there's been a lot of debate over the years as to who shot first. I feel like everybody knew it, but you just might as well throw it in there. I've got a couple answers here. I went much less geeky here. I said Greedo because if all of the CGI bullshit that George Lucas added has to be canon, then so does Greedo shooting. And you can't just nitpick if we have to deal with all of some of these things, then we have to deal with all of it.
Yeah.
But honestly, when you really think about it, the person who started this shit was Obi-Wan. Because if Obi-Wan didn't lose his shit, cut off a guy's arm over literally nothing, over like someone getting a little too touchy at the bar, then nobody would have shot, because Obi-Wan kind of just set the bar by literally slicing a dude's arm off and everyone being okay with it. At which point, Han and Greedo are like, well, I guess you can get away with anything here.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan shot first. And now we have a third answer here. I've been hiding this from you since last year. We have a special guest answer. From Mark Bernardin. I I asked him this on Twitter, and he answered it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got a special guest answer. He has no idea it's on a podcast, but you know, he didn't ask me anything, and I was like, this is a good chance to get a special guest answer. And of course, he blew both our answers out of the water. Who shot first? Mark Bernardin says George Lucas shot first. Which,
nice.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Yeah, I wanted to surprise you with that, so I kept it quiet for a year.
Kept it tucked away.
Yeah, just tucked away there. Well, that's all the pregame, I guess. It's all the foreplay of our Star Wars. Of course, I mean the main thing we have to do here is we have to rank the Star Wars movies.
Yep.
We got to rank them. All 9. Is that right? Is that the right number? Yeah.
Yeah.
10 very shortly. And there's like another fucking 7 or 8 in the works, I believe. How you want to do this? How we gonna do it?
You go 9-1, then I'll go 9-1, and then we'll debate.
Okay. Let me see. I want to say this without sounding like an asshole. But I want to be honest. 7 through 9, I am not sure. They're the prequels in some order. I don't really have a definite order because I don't like any of those movies. And I know it's everybody and their mother hates the prequels. There's nothing cool or original about that opinion. I just don't really like them, and I dislike them all for different reasons. So I'd probably go Episode 1, 9, Episode 2, 8, Episode 3, 7, maybe, but they could go in any order there. Then there's a huge jump for me from movies I don't like that I probably won't watch again to the rest of them I think are all fantastic. My order would be number 6, Rogue One. Number 5... Oh, sorry, what'd you say?
I'm just following along and marking on my list where you've ranked everything.
Okay. Number 5, Return of the Jedi. Number 4, The Force Awakens. Number 3, The Last Jedi. Number 2, The Empire Strikes Back. And number 1, A New Hope. Which, when I originally made the list, that was very easy to make. I always liked episode 4 over episode 5. But it's getting a lot harder and a lot closer. Empire Strikes Back is starting to overtake A New Hope for me. So yeah, that's my order. You say yours, and then we'll go through the movies.
Okay. I actually do have a preference for the order of the prequel trilogy. And so number 9, I said Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
It was just a weak movie.
Yeah.
Beginning to end, it was weak. Plus, I was so excited to see, Anakin become Vader. And then they just turned it into, no!
Oh, yeah.
And, that's one of the few Star Wars movies Emily has watched with me. has seen that one and, like, Rogue One, Force Awakens, The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And she still references the birth of Luke and Leia with Padme as, like, the weakest movie death she's ever seen.
Yeah, you know, when you think about it, for such an advanced and technologically, like, scientific even society, the fact that someone just naturally dies in childbirth is a little hard to understand.
She didn't die from the childbirth. She died from a broken heart, which means that bitch gave up on her kids.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on the prequels. I try and put it out of my mind a little bit.
Yeah, they actually said she died of a broken heart.
God damn it. God damn it, George Lucas.
Yeah. And, funny enough, I actually have to bring up... as we were getting ready for Infinity War, I was rewatching all the MCU movies in order. And one of the few that Emily actually watched with me was Thor 2.
Okay.
And the part, like, where she was all, like, she had the ether in her, and she's all, like, and seems like she might die and everything, like, we're sat on the couch, and Emily looks at me, she was like, this is almost as bad as when Mrs. died at the end of that Star Wars movie. And I lost it laughing. And she was like, what? It is. I said, I know, but it's the same actress.
Yeah.
And she didn't even realize that it was also Natalie Portman until I told her. But she said that both of those, like, scenes where she was, like, dying or very near death were super weak performances.
That's funny as shit.
But yeah. Anyway, that's why I think Revenge of the Sith is the worst.
Yeah, that's fair. My point with the prequels is I won't disagree with anyone saying that any of those movies is the best or worst, because, like, okay, I'm just going to quickly say this. Episode 1, Phantom Menace, I think is the cringiest. It brings me the most pain while I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Episode 2, I find to just be the most boring. Like, I get bored watching that one. And episode 3, I find to have the absolute fucking worst dialogue. Yeah. So, it really is just like, I don't know.
It's like your dog lays 3 turds on the lawn and you have to pick your favorite.
Yeah, one's a little too soft, one stinks the worst, and one's the biggest. I mean, pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's just my take on it. Okay.
For number 8, I said Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
The reason why I put this over episode 3 is just because of Jango Fett and Boba Fett.
Okay, yeah.
I like that it gave us a bit more of Boba Fett's origin, and Jango Fett was kind of cool. But that was, like, the only real redeeming factor that movie had for me.
Yeah, I get it.
So, whereas, like, episode 3, like, is a flat 0 in, like, things I like about it, Attack of the Clones is maybe at, like, a 1 or a 2.
Yeah.
And then number 7, I have The Phantom Menace. Simply because Darth Maul. If Darth Maul was not in this movie, I would have excluded it from the list. The one thing that made this movie better than Episode 3 was Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Darth Maul is hands down one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe, and it pains me that the only live action he's been in is probably the worst Star Wars movie.
Yeah. That's the thing about Phantom Menace. Like, it has so much potential, but then it does everything in its power to just shoot itself in the foot.
I mean, like, the pod racing game for N64 was decent. So I guess we got that from this lump of poo, but...
Yeah. And the last time I watched it, which I got maybe like halfway through the movie before I just had to shut it off. The pod racing was better than I remembered. Like,
yeah,
I was watching it and I was like, this isn't a bad scene. And then it kept going. And that pod racing scene is about 10 minutes too long. Like, it's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
And also...
And I mean, like, didn't that Jake Lloyd kid who played Anakin grow up to be, like, a meth head or something?
Not a meth head, no. He just really hates Star Wars. He grew up to be a very, very angry man because Star Wars kind of ruined his life.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe he did meth, but
I don't know. I just remember seeing it in a mugshot.
Oh yeah, no, he looks rough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like, I think Star Wars has made my life better, but this dude was only attached to the Phantom Menace, and it ruined his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's enough said on those 3.
Wait, one more thing. Also, why'd they spend literally, like, I would say a good 45 minutes of this movie on pod racing and on Anakin being a pilot and pilot this, I'm the best, and then Anakin's story never goes anywhere towards piloting. Like, sure, Darth Vader pilots a TIE fighter a bit, but, like, they don't talk about it. They never talk about Anakin or Darth Vader as being this great pilot. So why spend most of a movie on it?
Because it was something different that they thought they could sell.
Oh yeah, they sold toys and games. Okay, there you go. I get it.
Yep, merchandising. That's why they spent so long on it.
It's the Transformers, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles syndrome.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we're done with the prequels.
Getting to the actual good Star Wars movie.
There we go.
Number 6, I said A New Hope.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not because I dislike the movie. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the others more.
Fair enough.
Number 5, I said Rogue One.
Okay. Yep.
Some of the CGI, like with Tarkin and stuff like that, like, it is a little weak. But I really enjoyed a lot of the new characters, even though they all die.
Yeah. The only reason I have Rogue One as 6 is I thought it was a fantastic movie, but it was sort of the least Star Wars-y movie of the bunch.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Star Wars being Star Wars, and that was kind of refreshing.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But when ranking them amongst the Star Wars movies, I don't know. It's just, if I'm going to go sit down and watch a Star Wars movie, I want something that feels like a Star Wars movie. Rogue One is the kind of thing I would sit down and watch if I was just looking for something a little different. And there's nothing wrong with it, but in terms of ranking Star Wars movies, I don't know, it doesn't go as high for me. That's all.
Yeah, I get that. But, like, Donnie Yen's character was so good.
Oh, he
and,
was.
like, his friend, who I can't remember his name, like, I loved their relationship.
Yep. Forrest Whitaker was fun.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera, like, that was great. The Vader scene at the end.
Oh, that was so good.
Like, I still, like, when I saw it in theater, when everything went dark and you could just hear, like, the breathing, and then the lightsaber lit up, like, all the hairs on my body stood up. And that scene today still gives me those same chills, like that same feeling of excitement. And I think that's really what did it for me. Like, the movie as a whole is good, but there's no scene in A New Hope that gives me that feeling that the Vader scene at the end of Rogue One does. And I think that was the deciding factor in which one was number 5 and which one was number 6 for me.
Yeah, I get it.
Number 4, The Last Jedi.
Yep.
It may be higher on my list, but I need to rewatch it.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't seen it since the theater.
Yep.
Which has been a while now. So I really need to rewatch this movie. It could bump it up a little bit on my list. It might not. I just remember I really, really enjoyed it, but I felt putting it at number 4, kind of midway through the good Star Wars movies, was a very conservative, safe bet.
Yeah.
Number 3, I said The Empire Strikes Back.
Wow. Okay. You got an interesting list going on here.
Number 2, I said Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And number 1, I said The Force Awakens.
That's a good list.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the list.
I know the whole Empire and Jedi thing, like, is pretty debated as to, like, which one's better, because a lot of people say Empire's better than Jedi.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see where they're coming from. But when I was a kid, like, growing up in the 90s, I had the original Star Wars trilogy on VHS. And I watched them all quite a bit. But Jedi was the one I watched the most.
Okay.
And, like, that's when, like, me as a kid, like, I wanted to be Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And so, like, seeing Luke finally, you know, win Vader over and, like, saving Han from Jabba, like, as a kid who wanted to be Luke Skywalker, this was the movie.
Yeah.
Because it didn't end in the person I wanted to be, you know, being all banged up, hand chopped off. Like, Luke is victorious many times throughout this movie. And, yeah, that's why I always had more of an attachment to Jedi than Empire.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And,
well, Force Awakens was just a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it is. The thing about The Force Awakens that is just so impressive, and I've said it time and time again, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I'll say it again. the target for this movie was so small, and they nailed it. Like, to make a movie that perfectly continues a storyline that hasn't been around for, my God, what was it? 30 years? Is that right?
Roughly.
Yeah, around 30 years, roughly, give or take. To pick up that story perfectly, to introduce new characters that everyone loves, that feel like they belong there, to bring back your old classics, to bring back old fans, bring in new fans, appeal to kids, have it look modern, but look like it's set in the same universe as the old movies. Like, there were 1,000,001 things this movie had to do right, and they did all of it.
Yep.
It's mind-blowing what they pulled off with that movie.
Yeah. I think a lot of the people complaining about The Last Jedi are just contrarians.
Yeah.
Like, some people are never going to be happy with anything.
No.
Like, no matter what kind of movie you give them, they're going to have their expectations so high that they're going to find flaws in it regardless. And I think that's what happened with The Last Jedi. So many people went into it with, like, their mind made up about things in the Star Wars universe. And that way they were impossible to please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let me see. I want to quickly run through just a couple of reasons why I have stuff where it is.
Oh, give her.
Rogue One I already touched on. So, something Mark Bernardin said, to bring up Mark Bernardin again, which he comes up a lot, he said something that it wasn't so much, he said something that changed the way I looked at the Star Wars movies, but it was something I could never fully put into words, even though I always thought and felt it. And that is, when talking about The Last Jedi, he said that the Star Wars movies are less about the story and the narrative, and more about finding ways to string together these bigger-than-life moments. So these huge scenes that are some of the biggest cinematic moments in history, and that's what makes a great Star Wars movie. And I have to agree, which is entirely why A New Hope is my number one, because every single scene in that movie is an iconic moment. Like, yeah. I can't think of a scene in that movie that hasn't been quoted or referenced 100 times over. It's almost to the point of, like, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's just the entire movie is quotable. But Empire Strikes Back is a close second for me. It's more emotional, darker, more brutal, but it also has those big moments. It's like they're just both very iconic. Return of the Jedi, having it fifth is no insult to the movie. It's a great movie. It's just my least favorite of the three. I've already said exactly why The Force Awakens is above it. And I just thought The Last Jedi was a very gutsy move. Like, a really bold choice of a movie to make. And I watched it again just the other day, and it holds up. Fuck, these are good movies. Like,
Yeah.
Also, I might as well acknowledge I'm making supper for later, so you might hear some ticking of the oven in the background.
That's fair.
It wouldn't be a Jedi Dropouts episode without background noise from something or another.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with these, man. Like, you have any standout characters you want to talk about? Like, oh, here's one. What's your favorite Star Wars, just sort of background character? Like, not a major character, but a character that shows up that you have a weird thing, like a weird affinity for.
Let's see. That little pet thing Jabba has, that's like pecking out C-3PO's eye.
Yeah.
I thought he was kind of funny.
Is it Salacious Crumb?
I'm not sure.
It's like the little monkey lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Salacious B. Crumb. I'm really proud that I remembered that name.
When I played the pod racing game, I usually use the character Mars Guo.
Okay.
Who is barely seen in episode 1. Like, it shows him, like, once, maybe twice.
Nice.
Like, for, like, a split second. Like, once as it's, like, introducing a bunch of the racers, and, like, once when it's showing him crash, I believe. But for some reason, that was always the character I was best with in the pod racing game. So, after, like, the pod racing game came out and I got good at it, every time I'd watch episode 1, he'd show up, I'd kind of like, there he is.
Nice.
There's my guy. So, those are probably 2 characters I'd pick.
I've always had a thing for Nine Numb. Like, I guess he's more of a major character. I mean, he co-pilots the Millennium Falcon in Return of the Jedi. But,
yeah.
I don't know. I like the history when you read about how he was just sort of an extra puppet they had, and George Lucas decided at the last minute, no, he's going to be a co-pilot. And they named him Nine Numb because that's German for number 9, and it was puppet number 9. So they just turned that into a weird space name. I don't know. I always liked Nine Numb, and a lot of the random rebel pilots like Porkins and Wedge and those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoy that whole. That's what I like about Star Wars. It's such a huge universe, and like you get these little characters that show up that are so detailed, and you don't get any of their background information, even though it does exist. Like the character Simon Pegg played in Force Awakens with the rations. That guy, the big guy who buys junk off of Rey. We don't get really any of his story at all, other than he's an asshole who gives out all the portions. And I don't know, it's just interesting. It's always fascinating to see that shit.
Something else Star Wars related I was going to say. What do you think of the casting for Solo? Like the guy who's actually playing Han Solo?
After seeing the trailer, I'm totally on board.
After seeing the trailer, I think he's going to do a good performance, but when I look at him, I don't see a younger version of Harrison Ford. I see a younger version of Benicio del Toro.
I can see that. like I don't look at him and see a young Harrison Ford, but I do look at him talking and his mannerisms, and I do see Han Solo. Like, I can believe it is the same character, which I thought was going to be maybe the biggest issue. But I'm totally in on it.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to see Grant Gustin from CW's The Flash.
Oh yeah?
As Harrison Ford, or as Han Solo.
I could see that. I could buy that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a couple of other guys on in talks to play young Han Solo, I believe, when the casting was going around. I can't remember all of them, but I think what's the guy's name from Baby Driver? That guy. Oh my god, I forget. He's got a weird name.
Not Ansel Elgort, is it?
Yeah, that's the guy. I think he was in talks at a point.
Cool.
Which I could have got behind that. Oh, here we go. Here's the list. The short list was Miles Teller, Ansel Elgort, Dave Franco, Jack Rayner, Scott Eastwood, Logan Lerman, Emery Cohen, and Blake Jenner. I don't know those last couple. Oh, Taron Egerton was in on it? From Kingsman?
Wow.
I could get behind that because I like that guy and everything.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, interesting list. I don't see, as of right now, without having seen the movie, I see nothing wrong with the casting. But time will tell.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see the future here with Star Wars, with Episode 9 coming next year. Apparently Rian Johnson working on a trilogy. The live-action TV series they've got planned. And wasn't there some... the guys from Game of Thrones are doing a trilogy as well. So...
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan.
It really is. Oh, one more. Do you have a favorite Star Wars video game?
Favorite Star Wars video game?
Yeah.
I haven't played much of the Battlefront series.
Yeah.
The ones I've played the most are probably for the N64.
Yeah.
So, like, I did play Super Star Wars. That was very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
I did mention the pod racing game, which I played a lot.
Okay.
What was the other one for the N64? The one where you played as, what was the name, Dash Rendar?
Are you thinking of Shadow of the Empire?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I remember the best.
I think I'd have to pick Shadow of the Empire.
That one stands out to me, too. Like, I never owned it, so if I happened to be at a friend's house who owned it, I got a bit in. I haven't seen a whole lot of it, but, like, it was a lot of fun. I mean, looking back, the graphics are pretty blocky and outdated, but at the time, it felt like, holy shit, I'm in the Star Wars universe.
It didn't age well, but for the time, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, he had the jetpack that you could fly with, and, like, you got to pilot the Millennium Falcon and, like, fly around and shoot things, and that whole Hoth level where you had to, like, actually, like, use the harpoons and trip them, and...
Oh, yeah, that was that game, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I mean, if I played a lot of the Battlegrounds ones, like the newer Star Wars games, I might say them, but they're just so pricey and not within my budget right now.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, like, yeah, I never really got a chance to play them aside from, like, the 1 hour I spent playing one of them at your house, like, over Christmas, like, not last year, but the year before, I think.
Yeah. We should probably acknowledge, I guess neither one of us has ever played Knights of the Old Republic.
No.
Which is considered probably the best Star Wars game. I've heard good things.
I've heard very good things, but I've never played it myself.
No. I got no experience there. Got the, like you said, the old Super Star Wars hard as shit games. The N64 games. And I haven't played the original Star Wars Battlefront games, but I haven't played the newest one, Battlefront 2, I think it's called. But the Star Wars Battlefront remake they put out a few years ago is a lot of fun. Like, they didn't do a story mode, and that kind of brought the playtime down a bit. But the graphics are almost identical to the original trilogy. Like,
nice.
There are times where you're seeing a stormtrooper coming at you in the distance, and you could believe that you're watching a Star Wars movie, which is pretty cool. I don't know. That's just a fun little tangent, I guess. Do we have any movies in the same spot?
Any what, sorry?
Do we have any of our movies in the same spot? I don't think we did we?
No, we didn't.
Not one. So, what movie ranked the highest between us? Do we have an agreement on the best at all?
Let me pull up my list again.
Let's crown a champion here. I had New Hope number 1. You had it like number 6? Okay.
The one that we mutually ranked the highest is probably Empire, because you ranked it number 2 and I ranked it number 3.
Okay. We can crown Empire for now as the Jedi dropouts reigning Star Wars champion, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's not a bad one to pick, I guess.
If we're doing the averages and adding our rankings together and dividing by 2.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the champion.
Oh shit, we're bringing math into it. That's too Star Trek. So, we got our Star Wars out of the way. You want to get into some Infinity War?
Oh, do I?
First of all, I got a little question here to ask you before we even touch on the movie. I thought this was really fun. Stan Lee posted a question on Twitter last week. I don't know if he actually has the Twitter account or if he has employees doing it. Who cares? Because he asked, if you could possess any of the 6 Infinity Stones, which would it be and why?
I wouldn't be able to harness the soul gem.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if I'd have... Without fighting people, I don't know if I would really have much use for the Power Stone.
No, that's what I'm saying.
The Mind Stone sounds too much like it could be corrupted.
Reality would be an interesting one.
Oh yeah, very. I feel like the most useful for good, or just for general purpose usage, would be the Time Stone or the Space Stone. And honestly, the Space Stone would be pretty cool, just because the you can bring yourself anywhere, which makes vacationing very cheap and affordable.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably the one I would pick. Because, I mean, like, I've always wanted to be able to bamf around like Nightcrawler.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's probably the closest I would get.
Yeah.
If I had the Power Stone, I'd just see, like, people trying to, like, get me to solve their fucking problems and, like, end wars and shit.
Yeah.
And then you just got, like, bullshit playing into that. Reality Stone, like, I don't know if you've ever hallucinated.
I don't know.
Like, I did when I got, like, really sick once, and also I had an adverse reaction to a medication.
Oh.
And I don't like things like, I don't know. I don't enjoy hallucinating, so things being weird and not, like, and being trippy and not how they're supposed to be, even if I was the one controlling them, like, that would be, I don't know, I don't think I would enjoy the Reality Stone.
Yeah.
Space Stone is probably what I would have to go with. I wouldn't want the Time Stone because I feel like I would fuck something up.
Yeah, well, see, the Time Stone, you'd be obsessing over changing things. If you had that option, every time you'd make a mistake or regret something, you'd go back and
exactly, like, you do it once, you're gonna be tempted to do it all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, Space Stone seems the like it would be the best for just for maintaining any sense of I don't know, goodness, I guess. Like,
yeah.
So, Avengers Infinity War. We're gonna do sort of a light overview, just general thoughts, and then we're gonna get into the spoiler territory. So did you like it?
I loved it.
Yeah, me too. Like, I know we talked about the MCU extensively, and I'm not usually one for the team up movies. I'm more towards the offshoot movies. The Avengers movies don't do as much for me, but this is above and beyond the Avengers movies in every way. They managed to tie together everything. Every single movie comes into this. Like, I don't know how they did it. I have no idea how this movie exists. It's amazing. That,
like, trying to write a movie like this, I can't even imagine attempting.
Not only did they manage to take all previous 18 movies with their storylines and subplots and end credits and tie them together in this movie, but they made every single character sound like themselves. Like, for example, Defenders, to me, a lot of the characters didn't sound like themselves because they didn't have their original writers doing the writing.
Yeah.
But everybody was perfectly on point here. I mean, Scarlet Witch kind of lost her accent, I guess, but that's besides the point.
She still had a bit of her accent, but it was fading a bit.
It was sort of inconsistent. Anyway, that's a minor gripe. I had a fucking time here. Maybe even shed a tear at the end here.
Yeah.
It is both the most serious and highest stakes Marvel movie yet, and definitely the most grim. But it still maintains the sense of humor that you would get from Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor Ragnarok.
Exactly.
It is the perfect blending of the two. And they managed to make all these movies finally feel like they're all one, like cohesive unit. Like Guardians of the Galaxy felt so different than, say, Black Panther or Winter Soldier, but you get them in the same place and they go hand in hand, and it works so well. Trying to think of what else to touch on without giving spoilers here. I really, really, really liked the different team-ups they did. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
Special shout-outs to Thor and Rocket Raccoon. They were a good team.
Yeah, Groot didn't really add much to that team until the end there.
Yeah, but he's Team Groot right now. He doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah, he's just angsty.
Yeah, which was fun. Having Spider-Man and Doctor Strange in the same place was a lot of fun. There were so many good little team-ups that were like just micro team-ups that were fun. I really enjoyed a lot of that. I think that should be it. Go see this movie. If you care about spoilers, if you don't want to hear spoilers, if you want to see this movie, then this will be the exit. You can, thanks for listening, all that stuff. You can consider this the end of the episode, I guess.
Yes.
Sayonara. Really.
Heroes in a half gel, turtle power.
Yeah, exactly. And just go see the movie. And I understand. Like the reason I want to put this sort of space here is because I live in a small town without a movie theater, and there are many times where I don't get to see a movie until half a year after it comes out. So I understand you don't always get the opportunity, and you should still get the full effect without having spoilers, even though it's kind of hard with the internet and all.
Yeah, the internet sucks.
Yeah. Okay. We're going into spoiler territory. Thanks for listening. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Blast off.
Blast off. If you're still with us, I guess you've either seen the movie or you don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Which is fine. That fucking ending. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So,
I'm not sure if I cried more or less the second time I saw it.
oh my god, man. Spider-Man absolutely destroyed me. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely fucking destroyed me. If you're listening and haven't seen the movie, I guess if you want spoilers, they killed everybody. Like,
Not everybody.
half of them.
Yes, and I was trying to see, like, if there was a pattern in who disappeared. And at first I was like, so they left just about everyone from Phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
Plus Rocket.
Yeah. Yeah,
And McCoy.
yeah, like, after the movie, me and Charlotte were discussing it and saying, maybe the people that are left are the ones who are gonna die. And I don't think that either, just because Rocket is there. I don't think they'll kill Rocket off.
No.
Also,
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 that being said, lately it's been doing the whole thing where it's like Rocket, like people calling Rocket out, being like, "You act hard, you act tough, but I know you love these people. I know you care about people." Type thing.
yeah.
So, how hard would it hit people if Rocket sacrificed himself?
Oh my god. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. Man.
Because they've mentioned, they've called Rocket out a couple times for, putting up tough guy front.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really it's really hard to say.
But then Hulk would have to die.
Yeah.
Rhodey would have to die.
Yeah. But I don't know how. That's possible. I mean, this major arc, this whole Thanos arc they've been working towards basically since Avengers is wrapping up.
Yeah.
The only one that throws it off for me, really, is Rocket.
See, people were being like, why did Doctor Strange give Thanos the Space Stone in exchange for Tony's life? And he looked into the future and he saw all possible outcomes.
Yeah.
And he said that there was only one where they won.
Yep. And then
he got Thanos to spare Tony's life in exchange for the stone. So I think when he looked forward in the future, he saw that Tony was instrumental in defeating Thanos.
Yep. My best guess here, this is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting that everyone who, quote unquote, died at the end of Infinity War will be saved or brought back, however it works. I cannot figure out exactly, maybe they're dead, maybe they're in a different timeline, maybe they're in the Soul Stone, whatever.
I think they're all in Soul Stone.
That makes sense to me. I think that however they figure out they can save them, I think Cap and Iron Man are both going down in the process. I think they're gonna have to sacrifice themselves together. That's my guess there. It would be a fitting conclusion. It would be an out for Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. So, man, can you think of a villain in an MCU movie as good as Thanos in this movie?
To date? No. Yeah. Nowhere close.
Not even, he's the main character. The movie is about Thanos.
Yeah. At the very end, most of the MCU movies, it is said, Thor will return in, Captain America will return in. This one, it said Thanos will return.
Yeah.
We're already into spoiler territory, so I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Before the title of the movie even rolls, the dude has 2 Infinity Stones. He's killed Heimdall and Loki. And he's laid such a beating on the Hulk that he's Banner for the rest of the movie, and Hulk is afraid to come out.
Yeah.
He has beaten fear into the Hulk.
Which was a pretty cool subplot. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. like, that part of the movie, that early in, like, I was like, no Loki, no Heimdall, but how easily he laid a beating on the Hulk. Almost had, like, if I wasn't in a movie theater where I had to be, like, courteous to other people, I would have been standing at that point just, like, in awe.
Yeah.
Like, I was literally on the edge of my seat watching him pound the Hulk like that.
Like, he's easily the most intimidating, most imposing villain they've ever had. He's the biggest threat. Like,
yeah.
But also the Black Order, the Children of Thanos, they were really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, them alone are a worthy opponent to the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the Avengers had a very hard time with them, and then at the very end, when they're like, whoo, like, wiping the sweat from their brow, like, whoo, we did it. Then Thanos just, like, shows up and just, like, brushes everyone aside.
wrecks everything.
Like,
Man.
It took a god to slow him down.
Yeah.
And he still wins.
Thor with his Stormbreaker.
Yup.
Which was so cool. And then it's such a build-up. And then he still brushes it off, basically.
Yeah.
Which really kind of puts it into perspective. Doctor Strange had some really, really cool scenes in this movie.
Had some very cool scenes.
Like, the Doctor Strange one-on-one fight with Thanos on Titan was one of my favorite fight scenes in a Marvel movie. For sure.
Oh my god, yes.
Easily. And they finally kind of went full magic with him, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I mean...
one thing that I found kind of cool, one of the spells he used during that fight, like, he's always been able to, like, have these little magic lashes, like the whip type thing, like the orange sparky whip thing.
Yep.
But, like, that, like, red band that he uses to, like, kind of restrain Thanos.
Yep.
I can't remember the exact name of it. The Bands of Sidorak or something like that. That's the same demon that imbues the Juggernaut with his power.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, someone, please. I'm always down to learn new things about comics, like, educate me.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that power has something to do with the demon Sidorak, who Juggernaut is the avatar of. Which, I mean, anything related to the Juggernaut in the MCU, I'm all about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We should probably address something I've noticed a lot of people talking about online. Star-Lord is taking a lot of flack for his emotional outburst.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying, like, I've even seen articles saying that Star-Lord is the real villain of Infinity War, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll set the scene in case you haven't seen it. Gamora is killed, which was a big shock. Not entirely convinced that's permanent, but we'll see. She is sacrificed in order for Thanos to gain the Soul Stone, and Star-Lord finds this out while they're trying to execute a plan to take the gauntlet off of Thanos' hand. and he has an emotional outburst and basically fucks everything up and ruins the plan. And a lot of people, like, I've heard people say, like, he's the reason everybody died. This isn't fitting of his character. I don't know. I think it's pretty fitting with his character. I think we've seen in the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies that he doesn't handle emotions well.
No.
At all.
I mean, he's an emotional guy who likes to play... He likes to downplay serious matters, like, by hiding them under humor.
Yeah.
He just found out the woman he loves... Because this is really the first time, like, him and Gamora have said, I love you to each other.
Yeah.
And he just found out she's dead. And grief does not make people act rationally.
No, not at all.
So many people do so many irrational things in grief. Okay, let's look at the end of Civil War. This is 20 years after Tony's parents have died. He knows that it was not the Bucky that stood in front of him that did it, that he was, under Hydra's mind control. And when he finds out that Bucky was when he sees the footage of that incident, Tony acts irrationally, lets Zemo go, and attempts to kill Bucky, fighting off his best friend and dismantling the Avengers.
Yeah.
Because of something that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, why is that more acceptable than Star-Lord doing something completely irrational the moment he finds out that she died?
And I'll tell you another thing. I'll bring him up for the third time this episode. Mark Bernardin, in his review, he stated he didn't understand why all of a sudden we're supposed to accept Star-Lord and Gamora as these star-crossed lovers and whatnot. But I don't think that's exactly what the movie was doing. Like, they're not supposed to be this great romance or anything like that. They clearly have some feelings for each other, but I feel like that scenario would have played out exactly the same if it were any other Guardian that had been killed. I feel like
if it was Drax,
yeah, I think it's more of like a familial bond. They have become a family, and he's already lost so much in terms of family. And he's an emotional guy. And I feel like that would have been his reaction if it was Drax, if it was Rocket, Groot, maybe even Mantis, maybe to a lesser extent. But, I mean...
You take it back to earlier in the movie when the Guardians first meet Thor.
Yep.
And Thor's, talking to Gamora about, I lost my father and I had to, my sister stabbed my eye out. And Quill kind of steps in and he's like, yeah, well, I lost my mother and then I had to kill my father because he's the reason my mother died. And
yeah.
Earlier in the movie before that, he brings up all the loss he's had to deal with. He lost his mother. He had to kill his father.
Yep.
Ego.
Yep.
And in the process of doing so, he lost Yondu, his father figure.
Yep.
The crew of his ship, Rocket, Gamora, Drax, Groot, Mantis, they're the only family he has left.
Yeah.
So, if you're not, I think you're right, if it was any of the other Guardians, I think Quill would have had a very strong emotional response.
Yeah. Those movies are not about, like, when I say that I don't enjoy the team-up movies as much, the Guardians of the Galaxy aren't a team. They're a fucking family.
Yeah. And another part of that, too, like, she said to him, like, she said to Quill, if Thanos gets me, I want you to kill me so he can't get the Soul Stone. And he tried.
Yeah.
Like, through tears, he tried to kill Gamora like she wanted.
Yep.
So Thanos wouldn't be able to get the Soul Stone. But Thanos used the Reality Stone to turn the shot from his gun into bubbles and then just takes Gamora. So, like, on top of that, when Peter finds out she's dead, how much of that is he blaming on himself?
Yeah.
So, like, that's even more reason for him to act irrationally. Like, he's not thinking clearly.
No.
Like, he's just... in front of him is just the reason why he has lost another member of his family, probably blames a little bit of it on himself, and he just lashes out.
Yeah.
He's not thinking. He's reacting.
Yeah. I don't get all the blame.
So I was like, no, don't do that. I understood it.
Yeah.
I understood why it happened.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because, I mean, like, I've suffered loss.
Yeah.
And I was not rational.
No.
Like, my parents had to put me in grief counseling for a little bit. Like, after tragedies and loss, like, how, like, that's why things like grief counselors exist.
Exactly.
Because people don't always handle those situations well. And it's kind of to be expected.
Yeah. It would be... I wouldn't believe it if he acted rationally.
If he acted clear-headed in that situation, it kind of would have said to me that he's a bit of a psychopath.
Yeah. I wouldn't buy it for a second.
No.
What else? Man, this is there's so much happens in this movie.
I gotta say, while I was getting, like, emotional about the whole Scarlet Witch killing Vision thing,
Yeah.
I, like, as soon as that was happening, like, while she was doing it, like, shooting Vision with one hand, shooting at Thanos with the other, I knew the Mind Stone was going to blow up, and I was just sat there, like, quietly under my breath saying to myself, Time Stone, Time Stone, Time Stone.
Me too! Except I
I knew exactly what was going to happen. And that got me really emotional, too, because she was having to, like, that's actual love.
Yeah.
Like those two characters are actually in love, Vision and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And so for her to have to, like, kill her lover only for Thanos to undo it and then kill him again right in front of her.
Yeah.
Like, I felt for her so hard.
Oh, yeah. I saw that one coming too, and I wasn't quietly, I was like, Charlotte was sat next to me, and I leaned over and I was like, he's got the fucking time stone. He's got the fucking time stone. And she's like, I don't know what that means. What's happening? I just, like, out of context ramblings, like, god damn it.
I'm glad you were on the same wavelength with that one, though.
Yeah.
If me were in the theater watching that movie for the first time together, instead of watching it with our significant others, like, we would have been, like, grabbing at each other, being like, Armstrong!
Oh. Man. What a movie, though.
Oh my god, like, I got emotional several times throughout this movie.
Yeah, I can see why.
The whole Loki Heimdall thing got me a little emotional, not, never cried over that one.
No.
Where everyone expected Tony Stark to die in this movie.
Yeah.
When, like, Pepper was on the phone with him as he was getting on the Ebony Maw's ship.
Yeah.
And she was saying, Tony, don't go, come back. And then the call dropped.
Yeah.
I got a little choked up there because I was like, no, like, Tony's gonna die.
Yeah.
When Tony got stabbed, I thought he was dying, so, that affected me. The Scarlet Witch Vision thing hit me. Gamora hit me. But I actually cried when... it started when everyone started poofing away.
Yeah.
The Groot thing, and Rocket was like, when Rocket was like, no, Groot, like, then that's when the first tear started.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I heard Peter go, Mr. Stark, I was like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Oh my god. Oh, you fuckers.
On the drive home, Emily compared the end of that movie to Toy Story 3.
Oh man, Toy Story 3 doesn't have shit on this.
Oh, I know. But, like, she was kind of right. She was like, like, that movie hit me like Toy Story 3 did. And I was like, yep.
Man, you know me. I'm a stone cold killer. I don't cry for shit. But, this one, it got a tear out of me, man. And I, like... That Spider-Man scene has me choking up now a little bit.
I know.
Oh, God damn it. Tom Holland, you fucker.
Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. did that so well.
Especially after all of Civil War and Homecoming and Tony saying over and over again, I can't put you in danger. And then... Peter Parker turning to ash in his arms as he says, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark. Fucking Christ, man. Like,
oh my god, like, I'm getting emotional right now thinking about
it. It is fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Man. That's like opening of Up sad. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Infinity War, man.
And then there was the post-credit scene.
Yes. Fucking yes. Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Man. That's gonna be good, too. That's like... It's less than a year.
Before you saw, like, the Captain Marvel logo on the little cosmic pager thing, who did you think he was sending out a message to?
I actually guessed this one right.
I was hoping it was going to Hawkeye, and then I was super excited when I seen Captain Marvel.
The only reason I had it was because logically, Captain Marvel comes out before the next Avengers movie.
Yeah. And
I was like, that's probably where they're going with this setup, but I don't know how. Yeah. And then he took it to pager, and I wasn't sure exactly who was paging, but I ended up being right there.
See, I knew Captain Marvel came out after this, but my mind was like, okay, Hawkeye wasn't in this movie.
Yeah.
At all. Like, they just mentioned that he's basically on house arrest with his family.
Same with Ant-Man.
Yeah. So, in my mind, Nick Fury is calling them up, being like, yo, I know you're tied up at the moment with family and house arrest, but the rest of what's left of the team needs you to step up and fill a bit of the gap.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And then as soon as I seen the Captain Marvel logo, I was so excited. Like, I actually jumped out of my seat.
Nice.
But two other things about that post-credit scene. Nick Fury turning to Ash just as he was about to say motherfucker.
Yep. Perfect.
That was perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
And as Maria Hill turned to Ash, I was sat there and I actually said, "Aw, Ted Mosby gonna be pissed."
There was a really funny moment just in the movie theater I went to. It was the weekend it came out, so obviously absolutely packed there, right?
Yeah.
I forget the joke they made. They made a shot at Christianity. It was something Star-Lord said, I think, about Jesus. I forget exactly
when half the Guardians are encountering Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Iron Man for the first time, and they said, what master do you serve, or what master do you follow, or something like that? And Star-Lord was like, what, like Jesus?
Yeah. So when that joke happened in the theater, one guy in the audience, just one guy, apparently loved it so much that he yelled out, "God damn!" And it gave me a bit of a chuckle. I enjoyed it quite a bit because apparently that guy got a real kick out of it. It was funny.
Was in the theater behind us, there were a couple kids, and one kid knew a fair bit of shit about comics, and I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but he was trying to educate the other kids on certain things that were going on. Like, during the credits, he was saying, like, well, the reason this happens, and and I almost turned around to correct him on a few things, and I was just like, no, I'll leave him be.
Yeah.
But, like, he knew a surprising amount of shit, and I was like, man, like, this kid, like, probably only, like, 13, and he knows way more about comics than I did when I was 13.
Well, knowledge...
Like, part of me was like, man, like, good on you, kid, like, you know some shit, and I kind of just wanted to, like, add a few little corrections to what he was saying, just so it would, you know, step up his game even more.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, he's close enough. I'll let this ride.
Well, knowledgeable preteen from the Infinity War audience, if you ever want a guest on the show, we could use a child genius.
Hell yeah. We can use any kind of genius.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that's a good as place as any to wrap up.
I know you said as good a place as any.
Yeah.
But right after us talking about, you know, insinuating that neither of us are genius, and because of the audio quality of our call at the moment,
yeah,
it sounded kind of like you said, well, that's the goodest place, too.
Yeah. It also is the goodest place.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we finally got to do this. Both the Infinity War review and our Star Wars episode. Finally.
Yep.
And I guess tune in next time. Same place.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Never, no, there's no same bet time because we're the most inconsistent. The time being, I guess now, whenever that is.
Yeah.
As always, you can check out episodes, Jedi Dropouts, or the anime podcast I do with Mitchell Clark, Final Form, over at www.jedidropouts.popping.com, or wherever where is what I just said. Wherever where you listen to your things. Actually, if you haven't listened already, double dose of episodes today, back-to-back double feature. Science fiction.
Yep.
Yeah. 2 episodes today. Should be an episode of Final Form, episode of Jedi Dropouts that clearly you're listening to. And yeah, thanks for listening.
And welcome to the dark side.
Until next time, may the Force be with you and stay away from trash compactors.
Yeah.
Later.